Hi, my name is Danielle Siembieda. I'm going to talk about two different things today, two different roles that I play. The first is as Managing Director of Leonardo, the International Society for Art Sciences and Technology, an organization that just turned 50 years. I'm going to talk a little bit about how this movement is actually developing itself through design thinking to change the future. Then I'm going to talk about a personal story as myself as an alter ego artist, an artist working in the intersection of art, technology, and the environment. And I'm going to talk about why I feel that that's important and how you can join me in this movement. This year we're celebrating 50 years of growing our network. When we first started the Leonardo Journal, print was the media of the time. And fast forward to today, there's a lot of ways to access collaborative work and transdisciplinary research and to build communities, both online and in person, in virtual spaces, and not necessarily with humans. You can actually have those collaborative opportunities with your own artificial intelligence. So what does that mean for the future, and what does that mean for our organization? Well, what it looked like 50 years ago doesn't necessarily mean what it will look like 50 years from now. So what we're doing is we're in the middle of a design thinking phase where what we're asking you, we're asking our network, our audience, our communities around the world to tell us what should we be designing for the future? How should we actually launch ourselves forward? Now, publication is going to change quite a bit itself. Do we need to be looking at something that is on a flat dimension, written in serif font, or is it something where we're trying to understand research in an immersive environment, understanding the media art histories, the different parts of neural networks, different parts of computer languages? How do we actually understand that and express that in a research phase? And how do we actually elevate the voices from around the world who are also working in these spaces? If we want to understand how to look forward into the future, we can't just look at ourselves internally. We have to listen in Africa, in Brazil, in Uruguay, in San Francisco, in New York, in Bologna, all of these places coming back to us to think about how do we actually design a decentralized network in an environment that helps really launch collaborative communities to help address the real issues that we're facing today in the 21st century and moving forward beyond. So when I think about the future, I actually don't think that we're going to be looking at language in the same way. Right now, there's this myth that English is the universal language. But that may change. Why is computer science written in English? Well, maybe that will be different in 50 years or 100 years. That is something that we have to start to think about and process. And how we publish work, how we bring in our peers and understand criticality in an open source network, but not something that's just in print, something that actually allows you to feel touched, to incorporate haptics and sensorial movements and experimental media. This is where we need to start to think about moving forward towards. How do we do that? Well, it's not going to be something that we're going to design alone. What we need is our community to join us. We need you to join us and help us really shape this. It's going to be iterative. It's going to be difficult. It's going to fail. And that's going to be okay, and we're going to learn from that, and we're going to make it better. But it has to be done with a global community, with multiple voices. So when I think about Leonardo for the future, I'm thinking about really understanding of movement, of transdisciplinary practice that's really going to shape the way that all professions, all industries move, because art is not going to be left on the side. It's going to be the fabric. It's going to be what is woven into everything moving forward. Technology will evolve with it, but the principles, the ethics, the understanding and the conversation is all going to be an aspect of that. So I don't want to say what the future is going to look like by myself. It's conversations like this that are going to start it. And it's going to be you challenging myself, it's me challenging you, challenging the establishment, challenging the system, introducing new systems. It's all of these and above that are going to be working together. And it may not just be us here on Earth working on this. We have to look outward. We have to look inward, and we have to sort of understand how we incorporate our future with other species. So that's my version of the future. It's unknown, but it's working together. Hello, my name is Danielle Siembieda. I'm an alter eco artist, and to give you an idea what that means, I don't work necessarily in new media art or environmental art. I actually work with energy information systems, green technology, bio art, the things that are evolving that help us understand our environment, but on a technology basis. And I apply those through artistic practice and community building. And I do this because I'm actually really concerned about where we go into the future. I don't see myself as an artist who is just trying to create objects for the sake of initiating dialogue or for aesthetics, but really what I'm interested in is the way that we can change behavior and how we actually can translate these complex systems that we are having to deal with the after effects for in our own lives, and how do we actually approach that and develop that so that we can actually shift public behavior, shift policy. Now that seems like a kind of an ambiguous answer, but what I mean by that is that we've been in this debate about climate science for decades, and what we've seen happen is because the science itself hasn't been transparent in the way that would be able to be understood by a mass public. What we're seeing is people who are quote-unquote climate deniers. If we were able to really understand behavior change and science in a way that creates empathy, in a way that triggers behavior, in a way that people can grasp it, taste it, and move with it, that is how we actually create a cultural change. And I think that's where artists have a role. And they have a role in this through not just translating the climate data, but also all the other aspects of technology that go along with it. We should be taking a look at where innovation is moving towards with energy startups and renewables and biotechnology, and how do we actually shift all of that into a creative way that makes it tangible for the layman. Similarly, those type of system transformations and system translations should also apply to the economy, to finance. So the things that really affect us on a day-to-day basis is where I see artist roles really playing a role in. I think artists should be citizens in residence in government institutions, in finance, in science, in other fields of study, so that we can really understand how do we actually connect with the public through empathy and through design and through art, make this shift actually happen. If we don't start to really understand that aspect of it, if artists don't really step over into that area, and if those areas don't welcome artists into their spaces, we're in a lot of trouble. There are people who understand where these systems are going and how they actually can capitalize on it, but there's a big gap between that and public knowledge. So as an artist, as an alter ego artist, it's my mission to actually fill that gap in and to encourage other artists to fill that space in. So if you're listening to this now, I hope you consider thinking about that if you're an artist or if you're somebody who's working in another field that has those complex systems. Invite us in. Let us talk to you. Let us work with you. We're not afraid to get confused and to research things and to ask hard questions, but let's do it together. So thank you.